All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Zenfolio Live. I'm Robert with Zenfolio Customer Success. I want to say thanks for joining us today on the live stream where we're going to be talking about how to create custom logos for your Zenfolio site. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Hey, if this is your first time hanging out with us, make sure you say hi to us and let us know in the chat where you're joining from. I want to say hi to Lloyd Gray, Robert DeSouza, and Zubar Safdar hanging out with us on YouTube. And so far on Zoom, let me say a big shout out to Anthony, Brian, James, and Lynn. So thank you guys for jumping on here and hanging out with us. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about how to create custom logos for your Zenfolio site. So I am going to go through creating a homepage logo, a header logo, a footer logo, a favicon, a mobile logo, and a pre-order logo. Now, while I am going to be in Photoshop showing you guys how to do this, this is not a logo design class. So you guys are more than welcome to poke fun at my design skills or lack thereof. But what I am going to be showing you guys how to do in Photoshop today is making sure that you're creating these logos to the correct size, exporting them correctly, and then where to go to upload these in your Zenfolio account. All right. Hanging out with me today, taking good care of you guys in chat, both on Zoom and on YouTube, I've got Richard. So make sure that you show them some love. Does a wonderful job hanging out with you guys on Thursdays, answering questions, relaying them to me. So I really appreciate it when they jump on and hang out with us. Okay, let's see. In the way of announcements, next week on Zenfolio Live, we're going to be talking about how to build your portfolio on Zenfolio. So I'm going to go through, talk about creating a portfolio gallery, getting images together, making sure that the SEO and all of that stuff is nice and set up. Next week as well is Wide Angle Wednesday, November 4th. Don't forget that. If you missed last week or the last month's Wide Angle Wednesday, we talked about gear. It was a lot of fun. You guys can join that on Facebook Live or on Zoom. And the link to register for that should be in the description below the video if you're hanging out with us on YouTube. If you're on Zoom, I'm going to have Richard throw that link in the chat for you guys so you can make sure to register for that. What Wide Angle Wednesday is we assemble a panel of photographers and we ask them questions on a specific topic. Last month, we talked about gear. We got their takes on must-have gear, best lenses, all kinds of great stuff. If you missed that and you want to go back and watch the replay, definitely check that video out. It is live on our YouTube channel. Next week, the topic is on building your business. So we're going to have Evan Chung, Jeff Cable, Laura Greer, and joining us this time as well is going to be Oli Moss. Lots of different genres of photography covered and lots of different stages of business in there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a great discussion. So make sure that you register and join us for that. And of course, we'll be answering your questions live on that as well. Now that is not going to go live on YouTube. You can only catch that live on our Facebook page. So make sure you follow us on Facebook for that, or you can join us on Zoom by registering to that link that Richard just threw out in the chat for you guys. Let's see, we're continuing to encourage you guys to share your favorite fall photos and make sure that you're using that hashtag Zenfolio Photographers for a chance for your images to be featured on one of our social media platforms, or as you guys saw there on the intro, on some of the Zenfolio Live intros as well. So make sure that you use that hashtag. And happy Halloween, you guys. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm way behind the ball. Usually I do something special every Halloween. If you go back and watch the Halloween episode from last year, I had a really cool intro with a kind of a creepy story. And I was hoping to continue that story this year, but just didn't get a chance to get that created. And I thought about showing up in costume, but it's just been a crazy day with the weather and stuff going on. So that kind of fell through. But happy Halloween, you guys. Make sure that you stay safe. Make sure that you have some fun. What are you guys doing for Halloween? Let me know in the chat. Are you guys going and taking your kids trick-or-treating? Is anybody doing Halloween photo shoots? Let me know in the chat. Curious what you guys are doing. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing later on. But let's just go ahead and jump into today's topic. So let me get Keynote closed and out of the way. There we go. I'm going to pull up Photoshop here because this is where we are going to start. And we're going to jump right into creating some logos. All right. So again, we're going to be talking about creating the different custom logos for your Zenfolio site. We're going to go through homepage, header, footer, mobile, pre-order, and Favicon. I'm going to be giving you guys the size specifications for these or recommendations for these. Also just going through some things to consider when you're creating these in Photoshop on exporting, how to crop in nice and tight on them and make sure that you're putting out the right file types. All right, we do have a guide that you can download. I'm going to have Richard throw that in the chat for you guys. There is a PDF guide that you guys can download. It actually is going to have all of this information written out. So you can download it, save it to your computer, and then if you're going through a brand refresh, or if you're building or just getting started and building your logos now, you can refer to that guide for sizes as well as where they go, and also it will show you how they appear on your Zenfolio site. So a really cool guide that was put together a while back. Definitely make sure that you guys go check that out. But we're going to go ahead and start. Now, before I start creating a logo, what I want to do is I want to get my color palette. All right. And I'm just going to create a fun logo today, but I want to create a color palette. And if you're just starting off, or if you're doing a brand refresh, a color palette is really important. And one of my favorite places to go and get color palettes or get inspiration for design is actually an Adobe site called color.adobe.com. So I'm going to pull this over here. And what I'm going to do is I'll just throw this link in the chat for you guys on Zoom, and I'll throw it out there for you guys on YouTube. Has anybody used this site before? It's an amazing site. It's absolutely free. It's through Adobe. Let me know if you guys have used it, what you guys think about it. But what I love about this site is that you can go to get color inspiration. You can go find color palettes. You can go and actually design your own color palettes, and then you can save them in your Adobe account. But it also gives you the hex values, which is so important, not just for creating logos, but then when you're also customizing your Zenfolio site and you want to try to make sure that you're matching your colors, you can always refer to the hex codes because you can use those hex codes in Zenfolio's theme designer. All right. And so we're just going to go up here, and there's lots of different tabs you can look at. You can look at trends. You can look at creating your own. So if you want to create your own, you can come in here and create a complementary one, kind of play around with these and just get all these different colors down here. And then as you can see right here, it actually gives you the hex codes for these. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to hit that explore, and I'm just going to throw a something in the chat, or something in the search up here. So let's do a search for Halloween. All right. So we're just doing a search for Halloween. It's going to pop up with Halloween inspired color palettes. And then we'll just pick one of these out really quick and we'll do our logo from that. I'm going to go with, let's go with this one right here. So I'm going to click on this, and now I have the hex codes for all of these colors, and I can click copy right here like this. All right, and Lynn is asking on Zoom, what if you don't have Photoshop right now? If you don't have Photoshop and you want to design a logo, there are some alternatives to Photoshop online. There's GIMP, which I think is a free alternative to Photoshop. I haven't played around with it much, but there's also a site called Canva that you can use as well. What's really important to take away from today's live stream is the sizes and the file formats and how you export it, making sure that you're cropped in nice and tight, and making sure that you are exporting it as transparent PNG files, so that as you update your Zenfolio site, if you're changing your background and colors and things like that, you're not left with a logo that has this big block of color around it because you didn't export it as a transparent PNG file. That is super important to know. Okay, so we're going to use this color palette. So I'm just going to kind of grab this, pull it over here out of the way, and we're going to start first with the homepage logo. All right, and it is important for you guys to understand that the homepage logo is a logo that you can only use on your homepage. So in your Zenfolio site, on your Zenfolio account, you have a homepage logo and a header logo. They are kind of the same, but the homepage logo is not really the same. So the homepage logo only shows on your homepage your actual default built-in Zenfolio homepage, not a custom homepage or anything like that, your default homepage. And so what's nice about the homepage logo that you can do is if you want to create some kind of really elaborate logo design and make it really big, maybe even like a square type, you can show that on your homepage and then use a condensed version of that logo on your header so that as people progress through your site, they don't have that big logo showing up anymore. They have the more condensed or alternative version of your logo. That's a way that you can use your homepage logo if you want to. Now, personally, I recommend that you use your header and your header logo because you could have that consistently shown throughout your site. And we're going to talk about that in a second, but we're going to design this homepage logo first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in Photoshop and we're going to create a new document. And the maximum size for your homepage logo, and this size is going to carry across from the homepage to the footer to the header logo. But the maximum size for that logo is 640 pixels by 230 pixels. That's the biggest size that logo can be. I definitely don't recommend creating something that big. That is going to be really large and it's going to take up a lot of space on the site. So I probably wouldn't create something that big, but that is your absolute largest size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a document at that size. And then I'm going to resize my logo where I want it to be. And then I'll show you guys how to crop in nice and tight on that. So we're going to start off with a new document. So I'm going File, Create New. And then in my new document window right here, I'm going to put 640 pixels wide and 230 pixels for the height. And then we're going to I'm going to make the background transparent. If you like designing on a colored background, that's fine. Just make sure you design in layers. I like to go ahead and make that background transparent just because that's the way I like to do it, but it's totally up to you. All right. We're going to hit that and then we're going to hit create. And now we have our Photoshop document here. All right. And then the next thing that I like to do when I'm doing logo design or any kind of design for that matter is to lay this out with a grid. All right. So a grid helps me visualize things a little bit better. It helps me take a big block of space and break it up into designing kind of sections. This is something that I learned when I was going to school for graphic design, and it's just something that's carried away from me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right in here to view, and you guys can't see my Photoshop menu because it's up here. You know what? I can fix that. Give me a second. Let me fix this so you guys can actually see the menu as well. That might be helpful. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that now. There's like something that's blocking it for me, but hopefully you guys can see it. So I'm going to go to view and I'm going to hit new guide layout. And I'm just going to create a guide to go over this. Again, this just helps me visually break this block of space into designable sections. And so I like to do even numbers. For this, I'm just going to do 4 columns, 4 rows, and have the margin set up. I'm thinking of butter. The margins set up and the way they are with 10 pixels around the outside. I might even go a little bit further. Let's do 20 and 20 and 20 and 20. You can kind of use this to help you think of like your padding around your logo. But now we have this grid in here that we can use. And so now let's come up with a design. Now, I'm going to design this after a hippo. I don't know if you guys caught the Zenfolio Live where I did hip photography. That's a play on one of our ambassadors, Evan Chung. His logo is a moose. I like to make fun of it and use a hippo and talk about how much better hippos are than moose. And so that's the logo design that I'm going to do. And so what I did before we started was I kind of browsed the internet and found really quickly a hippo that I liked, a hippo silhouette. And so I'm going to grab this over here. If you guys have questions about Zenfolio, if you have questions about Photoshop, definitely please make sure that you get those in the chat. I would not call myself a Photoshop expert. I do have a degree in graphic design, but I would not put myself up there with like an Aaron Nice or anything like that. But I will do my best to answer your Photoshop questions and your Zenfolio questions. But I found this little silhouette of a hippo, and this is the one that I'm going to use to kind of create my logo. So I'm going to actually just drag this file on here. And then what I'm going to do is I couldn't find the PNG file for it. And so I'm going to recreate that using a color layer. And so what I'm going to do is just hit enter. I'm going to grab my magic wand tool, select that, and it's just going to select that whole hippo silhouette. Then I'm going to go down to my layers tools right down here and create a new solid color layer. Now you guys can't see it, but I'm just with that hippo color selected, I'm just creating a new solid color layer. in that color. I'll make it green for now, even though that's not one of the colors, but just so you guys can see. All right, and so now it's recreated that hippo shape. I can now delete that bottom shape and I now have the hippo in here. Now, what am I going to do now? I'm going to use one of the colors from my color palette right here for that hippo. All right, so let's go with this darker color. So I'm just going to click right on this and copy the hex code. And then in Photoshop, if I double click on this solid color layer right here, I can then, oops, wrong double clicking section. Let me go right here. I can then just paste in the hex code for that color right here with a Command V. And now we have that kind of dark purple color for my hippo. Okay, let's grab that hippo layer and let's move him over here. And let's go ahead and make him smaller because I know I don't want my logo to be the max size. So I'm going to bring him about down to like this right here. All right. Okay. So we have the hippo. Now we just need to add whatever text or font or whatever words I want on here, whatever text I want. So in this case, I'm going to do hip photography. So I'm going to grab my text tool right over here and just go up here and let me just move this over and we're going to write the word hip and then I'm going to write photography. All right. And the idea that I kind of have in my head is I want hip to be right here and photography to be under the hippo where he's kind of standing on it. So I'll just kind of go ahead and place that in that area and kind of show you what I'm thinking. But I think I want to kind of change it up just a little bit. So I'm going to go to this text, double click the layer. I'm going to start making hip a little bit larger just to kind of take in that space there. So just something like that. All right. Okay. Now I want to bring this, just kind of position it nice there. And then the last thing that I want to do again is go back to my colors and make sure that I'm using colors that match from that color palette that I selected. All right. So here is the color palette. And I want to use, for this one, I want the photography to be the same color as the hippo, but I want the hip to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to double click the text layer. I'm going to, first of all, select the photography portion, hit the color tool up here, and then again, just go in here and paste in that hex code so that it matches. And let me do this again because I think I unselected it. There we go. Now let me paste in that hex code and hit OK. So that changed the photography portion to be the same color. The hip was a different color still. So we're going to click on the hip part this time, go up here. And actually, I need to copy the color that I want to use first. So let's copy this. And guys, I'm going to probably promise that this is going to turn out being a pretty laughable logo file. So again, feel free to poke fun at me. This is not really the important part. We're going to get to the important part here in a second. Okay. So here's my logo so far. I'm going to go with that. I don't want to export it like this though. Okay. Because it's got all of that space around it, right? And so all of that extra space, when we export it, that's going to cause there to be a lot of weird padding that we can't really control in Zenfolio. And so what we want to do is we want to get rid of that padding. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. You could use that crop tool right here and just try to visually crop in as tight as possible. If you want to do that, you can definitely do that. The way that I like to do it is I actually like to use the layer select option and then hit the crop tool. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to go right here and I am just going to do I think it's Shift Option Command D. Maybe it's Option Command D. I can never remember the shortcuts. I'm just going to select all the layers and do merge layers like this. So that basically they're all merged together. They're not separate layers anymore. And then after that, I'm going to hold Command on my keyboard, or if you're on a PC, it would be Control. And I'm going to click on that layer. And if you can see what it's doing, it is selecting the stuff that's in the layer without selecting the dead space. And after you do that, then you can click your crop tool. And guess what that does? That crops in as tight as possible to that logo file. All right. And so I'm going to hit enter, enter again. And now we're cropped in as tight as possible in that logo file. Okay. And from this point, it's ready to be exported and uploaded to Zenfolio. Now, we're not going to upload everything to Zenfolio yet. We're going to do that here in a little bit. We're going to create a couple more logos. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to File, and I'm going to use Export, Quick Export as a PNG file. Now, important to note, make sure that if you're using this option that you've gone into your export settings under your Photoshop preferences right here. So under your export settings, and make sure that that quick export format is set to PNG and is set to have transparency. That way it doesn't put a white background on it. If this option is unchecked right here, if this option is unchecked, when you use that quick export, it's going to put a white background on your logo file. And that is probably not what you are going to want. So again, go under Preferences, Export, make sure that the PNG file has the transparency checked and hit OK. And then from there, I'm just going to go to File, Export, Quick Export as a PNG file, and then I'm going to decide where I want to put it. And I'm going to put it in a new folder, and we'll call it Zen Logos. And I will just call this one Home Page. Okay. So homepage logo, and we're going to save it. All right. If I had any background layers on really quick, so like if I had a white background layer on under the logo, before I exported it, you would want to make sure that you turn that background layer off. Now, if you have an older version of Photoshop, you might not have the export or quick export option. And in that case, the process that you need to use is File, and it's going to say Save for Web is what you're going to be looking for. You're going to click that option, and then you're going to get a little dialog that pops up like this. You're going to want to make sure that you switch this from being a GIF to a PNG 24. Really important that you choose that 24 option, and then make sure that the transparency option is selected, and then you can save that. Now, for anybody who's wondering, well, what size did that logo actually end up being? Right here is the actual size. So that logo ended up being 285 pixels wide by 140 pixels tall. That's still a pretty big logo. That's going to be too big really for what I want on my header. Now, I might use that for the homepage, but for the header, that's probably going to be a little bit too big. I'm probably going to want something a little bit smaller because I don't want my header to take up a lot of real estate on my site. And so we're going to talk about that in a second. All right. Okay. So now that we have created our homepage logo, let's talk about creating the header logo. And the header logo basically has the same properties as the homepage logo. But again, I want to use this in my header. I don't want my header taking up a bunch of real estate. And this can also be used for your footer logo as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and just create a new one really quick. And I'm going to say File, New. And then what I'm going to do is not put in these maximum sizes, because I know that on my Zenfolio account, and let me pull that up really quick. If I go into Customize Website, I know that I can set the size or the height that I want my header to be. So this right here is my header. And if I go to Options and I go, nope, sorry, not Options. If I go over here to the sidebar, and if I go down to Site Header, I can set up my header height. All right. And so this is going to give me an idea of what size I want that header logo to be. All right. So what I'm going to do is look at my header and say, okay, that's about where I want my header setting. All right. So I like the height of this. That's about how I want it to look as far as height goes. So what I'm going to do is go down to Site Header, look at that header height and say, oh, okay, it's 80 pixels. So I know that I want to design my logo with that 80 pixels in mind. All right. Now The header does have a special property to it to where you can set the logo to scale, which is pretty cool. And I'll show you guys that in a second. But still, you're going to want to keep that header height in mind when you're designing your logo to give you a good place to start. So back in Photoshop, we know that we want to start with a height of 80 pixels. So I'm creating new. I'm going to set that height to be 80 pixels. And the width, we can just leave the width at 640 pixels. The width doesn't really matter as long as your logo is not really, really long. All right, we're going to hit create. And then again, I'm just going to go up here and do that grid. So new guide layout. This time I'm going to leave the margins off and we'll just go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to recreate that logo again really quickly. So I'm not going to kind of describe everything that I'm doing. I'm just going to go through the steps really fast. Creating that solid color logo or layer, getting that, where did it go? There we go. Getting that hex code so I can put in the color that I want. Deleting that other layer now. Resizing this, and let me just zoom in. And I'm going to resize this with Command T. Bring this over and go ahead and just kind of size it down here. Now, in this case, this is a reason why it's nice to have the homepage logo and the header logo separate. Because in this case, if I did that same design where I had hip and then photography under the hippo, photography would have to be so small that it would be hard to see in my header. And so what I'm going to do this time is create a more vertical styled logo rather than kind of a stacked one. So it's just going to say hip photography coming right out of the hippo right here. All right, so we're going to go grab the text tool. I'm going to click right here. Go ahead and get the text smaller. Bring it over here. Change that alignment to left aligned this time. Get it right here, and then we'll write out our text. All right. And guys, if you have questions, make sure you get them in the chat. We are going to do a Q&A, so make sure you get those in the chat so I can get those answered for you guys today. But all right, so now that we have our text here, let's go ahead and just recolor our logo or our text. We'll put that color in here. Jumping back to this and getting my red color here. And going to do that for the hip right here really quickly. Okay. And so now it's just a matter of sizing this in the way that I want it to look. And I feel like the text is probably just a little too large, so we're going to kind of downsize this. All right, and we could even maybe do a stack like this if we wanted to. I am not liking that at all. I'm just going to do a stack like this. All right. Oops. Okay. Again, like I said, please feel free to poke fun at the logo. But I'm going to go ahead and go with this. So again, we're going to use that same method to get this cropped in nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select all the layers, right click, and then choose the merge layers option. We're going to hit Command and click on the layer right here. That's going to select everything in the layer. And then we're just going to crop it in nice and tight right here. Hit Enter and crop that in. All right. And there's our logo. We'll go up to File, Export, Quick Export as a PNG file. And now that logo would work for the header as well as the footer if we wanted to use the same logo there. So I'm going to say header logo.png. We'll hit save. And we have created our header logo. All right. Now, the next logo file that we're going to create is going to be the Favicon. That is this little logo that you see right up here. And if you notice how small it is, it's really small. So it's a good idea to think about what you're using in there. In this case, I'm going to try to use maybe just the hippo's face and not even the full hippo silhouette because that is a 16 by 16 pixel logo. All right. So what I'm going to do is fix this again. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab this. Actually, I'm going to use this right here, kind of zoom in on this, and maybe just try to crop into the hippo right here with a 16 by 16 pixel crop. Let's do 16 pixels by 16 pixels in the crop tool. And then we'll just kind of get this positioned over the hippo's head here. All right. There we go. I'm going to hit enter. And what I'm going to do really quickly is just kind of use my brush and brush out some of this and this right here and get rid of that really quick. So I'm going to use my brush tool. Let me get that size down. Also, we're going to bump that hardness up. And I'm just going to kind of quickly brush out or mask out some of this stuff. So that over here, I'm masking out this. Just kind of rounding out the shape of the hippo's head there, just like that. Okay. And so that's going to be the favicon right there. I don't know how visible that's going to be, but we're going to try it out. And again, that is 16 by 16 pixels. So we're going to go back up to File. Where did my window go? Okay, so we're going to go back up to File, Export, Quick Export as a PNG file, and I'm going to call this favicon.png. No background layers on there at all, so we're good to go. Okay, a couple more logos to create: the mobile logo and then the pre-order logo. Now, I'm not going to totally recreate those, but what I am going to do is just kind of open up. Actually, I'll just drag it in here. I'm just going to kind of bring the logo files that I've already created in here and crop them for those different sizes. So let's do this logo here. All right. And for the Quick Shop logo, the Quick Shop logo is 400 pixels by 80 pixels. Okay. So 400 pixels wide by 80 pixels. So what we want to do is we want to use our crop tool and crop this. So that's going to be 400 by 80. All right. And you see how small that is. So that's going to let us know that this logo file is not going to work for that. We're probably better off using the longer logo file. So let's go grab that one really quick. All right, so let me grab that logo file. And I'll just open that one up right here. All right, and so there's the longer one. So let's grab our cropping tool, that 400 by 80, and that's almost perfect. So we're going to go ahead and just crop it right there. And we'll do File, Export, Quick Export as a PNG, and I will say Quick Shop logo.png. All right. There we go. And then the mobile logo is 640 pixels by 200. So the homepage logo that I made or the header logo that I made should work perfectly fine for it. If you're creating a mobile logo, make sure that you check it with the cropping tool like I cropped it earlier to make sure that mobile logo is going to work. For the pre-order logo, it's 400, which we just did the pre-order logo, so that one's going to work. As well, the pre-order logo is the same size, as the Quick Shop logo. So pre-order logo and Quick Shop logo are both 400 by 80 pixels. So now it's time to jump into Zenfolio, get these logo files uploaded where they need to go. And then after we do that, we'll take a break. And I'll have Richard come on and say hi. So let me grab my Zenfolio account really quick. We're going to go into our account here. And actually what we'll do is we'll go back into customize view. So if you're not familiar with how to get here, hover over website, right click on customize site and open that up in a new tab. And then this is where we're going to go and upload all of the logo files that we just created. Let me get this loaded up here. And one of the things that I'll do as well, I'm not going to do it this time, but I will upload my logo files to my Zenfolio in here under like a website assets folder, just to make sure that I have them on my Zenfolio account. So that way, if I'm out of town, if I'm traveling somewhere and I need my logo files, and I don't have to worry about my computer, I can just log on to my Zenfolio account and download my logo files because I have them stored on my Zenfolio site. So I have a website assets folder where I would upload those logos as well. But here in customize view, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to site settings first. All right. And then we're going to go to the logos and icons tab. And this is where we are going to upload our logos. So the first one that you're going to see is the quick shop option right here. And right now it's using a resized header logo. That's probably fine, but just to show you, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's upload our quick shop logo. We're going to choose file, and we're going to go into that logo files that I just created. And here's our quick shop logo right here. We'll hit open, and we're going to upload that. All right. While that's kind of uploading, we're going to go down to the next one, which is the web browser icon or the Favicon. Again, that is this little one right up here. We're going to upload that. So we're going to click upload, choose file, and this is our Favicon. We're going to hit open, and we're going to go ahead and upload that. Next, we'll do the mobile logo. And if you remember, the mobile logo and the pre-order logo are the same exact size. So if you create a pre-order logo or a mobile logo, then you don't have to create one, or you can only have to create one. You don't have to create the other one. So we're going to upload a mobile logo. And in this case, I'm using that quick shop logo right here. Right? Yeah, we'll use that. And pre-order right here, we're going to upload a pre-order logo right here. And I'm going to use the quick shop logo there as well. Okay, so we'll say upload. And I forgot to choose the file. So let me choose the file for this one. Open and upload. Okay. So now my logos are uploading. Let me give this a refresh to see. All right. Now the logo files are uploading. They're going to take a few seconds to kind of upload and be there in the system. And then what I do is, like I said, I come in here and I actually upload my logo files into my Zenfolio account. So I click on upload and go in there and upload my logo files in there. All right, you guys, I'm going to take a quick break, see if I can't figure out what's going on with my computer. I'm going to have Richard jump on here and say hi to you guys. And then we will come back and we'll see if my computer is wanting to play ball and see if we can't get these logos. So go ahead, Richard, and I'll be right back.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Thursday. Just like Robert said, my name is Richard. I am a part of the Zenfolio customer success team. I hope y'all are getting a lot out of the stream today. It's awesome that Robert's kind of hopped into Photoshop for us. One thing that was said within Zoom as well is that one of our attendees said that they might not have Photoshop, and of course there are a lot of photographers out there who don't use Photoshop, or they can just get done what they need to within Lightroom. There are a lot of great online logo creation services, whether they're free or cost a small subscription. That's also a great way to achieve the look that you're looking for if you don't currently have Photoshop. But regardless, of course, I hope you're getting some great tips. And something too that was mentioned within the chat is that there are a lot of different places within Zenfolio that you can have your logos be seen. And I did put within the YouTube chat that link about all of those different logos and places to upload. I will put that within the Zoom chat as well, just something to take home with you, along with that PDF of what we're going over today as well. But hey, like Robert said too, if you have questions, please feel free to put them within the chat. If you're on Zoom, please feel free to put them within the Q&A section. I am feeding those to Robert as we go, and we're about to address some of those here shortly. But one thing that I did want to mention in regards to the topic today of just general customization is that we are offering group events within Zenfolio group sessions where you can join, basically learn a little bit about the topic. We are doing a great one right now on site customization. We cover that for fine art photographers. We also cover that for portrait, wedding, and event photographers as well. I will put that link within the chat too, once I give it back over to Robert here. But that's a great way to kind of learn more about, of course, not only where those logos go, like we're learning today, but also kind of how to get your site looking the way you want it as a whole. So I'll put that calendar within the chat, like I said. But I'm going to go ahead and give it back over to Robert. There have been some great questions asked, and we'll definitely address those here shortly if Robert's computer is being nice to him. How are we doing, Robert?
We're good. We're good. Thanks, Richard.
Cool. Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you, Richard, for jumping on here. I appreciate it. Richard does such an awesome job hanging out with me. I really appreciate it when he hops on here. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab some of your guys' questions. I'm still having some issues, but I'm going to get my screen share back up because I did see a Photoshop question that I wanted to answer really quickly. Guys, if you have Photoshop questions, I will do my best to answer them. And as Richard said, there are lots of alternatives to Photoshop. As far as I know, maybe somebody out there can correct me, but as far as I know, Lightroom doesn't have any creation capabilities as far as creating logo files or working on layers or anything like that. I haven't found it. I'm pretty sure it's not in there, but I'm saying it could be, and maybe it's just something I missed. But as far as I know, Lightroom doesn't have any creative capabilities as far as creating anything. So if you're needing something to create a logo, you definitely should have Photoshop or one of its alternatives like GIMP, or there's Canva, which is an online service that you can use. You could do that as well. I've played around with Canva. It will get you through if you just need something really quick to like create a logo file or something like that. But I'm just going to be honest, like Photoshop is such an amazing tool, like beyond the creative capabilities. When you really start getting in there and playing around with actions and CSV stuff that you can do in Photoshop, there's not much that can really replace having actual Photoshop. And you can get it from the cloud service pretty sweet, pretty cheap on Zenfolio. If you're looking, not on Zenfolio, I'm sorry, from Adobe. So if you don't have Photoshop, look at the Creative Cloud option for it. It's not that expensive, I don't think. And again, you really can't replace Photoshop with everything that Photoshop can do for you. Okay, really quick, a question that came in from Robert said, how does one remove the background from an animal picture one has taken for a logo? And so, again, like I said, I'm not a Photoshop expert, but I'll show you the method that I like using. Now, I'm going to do a quick extraction. This is probably not going to be super pretty or clean, but it's going to give you a nice place to start. So what I'm going to do is just drag this image of a hippo in here. Let me get out of my cropping tool. And then let's say I want to remove that hippo's face to use in a logo. All right. I could do the manual select route where we kind of use the lasso tool or even the magnetic lasso tool and all of that stuff. But Photoshop has a pretty sweet tool that's in here that I found earlier this year called subject select. I can't say it, subject select. So if you actually go up to click on your layer, and if you go up to select, I know you guys can't see it, but you can go to select, and then it says subject, color range, or focus area. And if you click on subject, a lot of times this will get you really close. Now, what I want to do, first of all, before I do that, is just Command J and duplicate this layer so that I can do the subject select with a layer mask. So I'm going to go select, go to subject, and Photoshop's going to think for a second, but as you can see, it's already gotten pretty tight on that hippo. So if I go and hit the layer mask tool, now it's got that hippo cut out of the scene pretty nicely. I could have found a better image to kind of demonstrate this because of course we do have half the hippo missing here. And I'll show you some ways that you can clean up this selection, but that took me like all of 2 seconds. And then once you have this going, then what you want to do is double click on the layer tool right here, the layer mask, double click on that. that's going to open up this window, and then you can start playing with some of these sliders, and that will really help you clean up that selection really good. So I like to start off by clicking the smart radius, kind of bumping the smart radius up a little bit. Then you can go down here and play with some of these refinements. You can use the smooth tool. And what that will do is that will kind of take these jagged edges right here and kind of smoothen them up. So just to kind of over exaggerate, if I bump it way up, you can see these are now more rounded. All right. You can play with the feather, although I try not to make my selections feather just because it looks super unnatural. And then you can play with the contrast and also shift the edge. So if you need that, like let's say that you did a subject select on something that had a rim light from the sun hitting in the background or something like that, and maybe you were trying to put that over a dark layer, and that rim light is really just blowing it out of the water and making it not work really well, you can use this shift edge option right here to tighten in on your selection. Now it is going to start getting into the skin of the selection, but it's doing it all the way around the selection. So it's not that noticeable unless it starts cutting off like an ear or something like that. So it just kind of tightened up. If I go the opposite direction, it will do the opposite. So now we're starting to see more around it. So this really lets you tighten that selection up if you need to. All right. And you can just kind of play around with these until your selection looks the way that you want, and then hit OK. And that is probably the fastest way that I have found to extract something, is using that subject select. Most of the time it gets really close. The only time I have to do a lot of work on the image is if there's like frizzy hair going on or something like that. So like for me, if I had my hat off and I had a photo of me without a hat off, I'd be a perfect. But Richard, it'd be pretty hard to do an extract using that select and just relying on that subject to select. So if you were trying to do an extraction of Richard, you'd have to go in there and play with those refinement tools because he has that really amazing hair. And you'd have to really go in there and kind of play around with it to get around his curls and stuff like that. But on most things, that subject select really works really well. All right, let's go back into Zenfolio really quick. And let's talk about where to upload those logos. Okay, so we're going to go back down here to site settings again, and we're going to go to logos and icons, and we're going to upload the Quick Shop logo right here. So we're going to say upload our Quick Shop logo, and we'll grab it. We'll hit open and upload. All right, and then you'll just do the same thing for everything in here. So you would say web browser. Let's upload our web browser or Favicon right here. We're going to hit upload, and you'll actually be able to see them kind of populate in here. This is a really good way to know if you took the background out of the logo or not, because if this logo had a background, it would actually be showing the solid white background. All right, mobile logo right here. We're going to upload the mobile logo, and I'm just going to use the header logo because it's going to work for that. Pre-order logo, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to upload the Quick Shop logo for the pre-order logo. We'll hit upload file. And then we're going to go down here and hit apply. And then those logos are going to be there. And the last thing that we need to do is get our header logo uploaded as well. Now, you don't really have to wait on this to kind of finish processing if you don't want to, but I'm going to hit apply, and we're going to go ahead and let that apply. And you'll notice already up here, here's that silhouette, really bad silhouette of that hippo head. So that didn't work out too well, but this logo hasn't changed. That's because that's our header logo. So we're going to go down to site header, go to logo, and this is where we would upload our header logo right here. All right. Now this is where that scale logo comes into play, because you can set the logo to scale, and then that logo is going to scale by adjusting the height of your header. So if I hit apply, now we're going to see the new logo on my header. All right, right here. And let's say I want to bring that in, make that a little bit smaller. Maybe I'm like, I don't really like how much space it's taking up. So I can go back down to site header, go to header height, And since this logo is set to scale, if I go to header height right here, we can start dropping this down and that logo is going to scale with it. So if I set this to like, I don't know, let's try 60 and hit apply. That's going to scale that logo down right here, just like that. So I can keep going down if I want until I got to a size that I'm happy with. Now, let's talk about that homepage logo really quick. So if I go to options, page elements, this is where you can see what logo you're using on your homepage. As you can see, I'm using the page header, but not the homepage logo. So if I set that to show, then a logo tab drops. So just look, if I uncheck that, if I set that homepage logo to hide, so if I go homepage logo hide, that logo tab goes away. If I set it to show, the logo tab pops back up. Then we're going to click on logo. This is where we would upload that homepage logo right here. Now what you'll see is I'm going to end up with a homepage that has 2 logos on it, which is probably not ideal. So I would, again, not recommend setting it up that way. I just want to show you guys where to upload it. All right, let's see. Carolyn Cummins says, I have a photo logo. I can import those into Zenfolio, right? I am not sure what you mean, Carolyn, by photo logo. You can import any file into your logo, or not any file, but you can import JPEGs, TIFFs, not TIFFs, I'm sorry. So for your logo files, they need to be, I would recommend that they're PNG files with transparent backgrounds. That way you can change the color of your website without having to constantly change your logo. But you can upload JPEGs or PNG files. So it really just depends on the size of that file and then the file type. As long as it's a PNG or JPEG, you should be good. Let's see. Robert says, I crop files and sometimes I do not know which file I put on the site. How does one find out the size of the uploaded JPEG files? So I think you're referring to, if you're referring to these, your logo files on this side of the site, you can't really see the size of the image. But if you're in your Zenfolio account and you uploaded your logos on the back end, which I recommend doing just so you have that storage, if you're in there and you have uploaded those, you can just go to a file. Like, I don't know if I have anything in here. What do I have? Phone photos. I'm not even sure what this is. Probably nothing. Let's see. Let's just find something really quick. Okay, that's a video. Let's go to, we'll just go to this one. You can actually see the size of these images by clicking on them. And then if you go to details, there's a little eye or info icon right here, Robert. If you click on that, then you can see the dimensions. So if I kind of zoom out here, it'll tell you the dimensions of that image right here. So again, click on the image, go to details right here, and then hit the little info icon, and that will give you the dimensions of the images that you uploaded on the back end of Zenfolio. Great question, though. Let's see. Next question, probably the last question I'll be able to get to, from Lynn says, did you say we could move the header from the center to the upper part? Great question. So your header is always going to appear up here. All right, this is your header. And so if you're seeing your logo here, that's because you're using the homepage logo. And so what you want to do is you want to go to options and turn off your homepage logo. So set it to hide and make sure your page header is set to show. And then when you apply that, what you're going to see happen is you're going to see that logo that was in the middle, kind of weird. That logo is going to go away. And now it's just my header up here at the top. So that is what you would want to do, Lynn, is make sure that you're using your header and turn off that homepage logo. That's typically what I recommend anyway, because the header can be throughout your entire website. versus the homepage logo and homepage menu can only show on your homepage. So I prefer to have this set up on my homepage just to keep that top section and the navigation consistent throughout the entire website. That's what I would recommend doing. So again, it's just under options, hiding your homepage logo and showing your page header right there. And that's how you do that. And then of course, once you're finished with that, then you would go here and click publish. All right, a few minutes left. Let me see what you guys are doing for Halloween. Did anybody throw out anything that they're doing in Halloween? We are starting a Harry Potter movie marathon tomorrow. We're not doing trick-or-treating. My son was super sad about that. Halloween is usually a pretty big deal for us. Last year, we dressed up like Mario and Luigi. I, of course, was Luigi. My son was Mario. And I took him out trick-or-treating. We had a Bluetooth speaker in his candy bag, and I was playing the Mario theme song. And then anytime somebody threw candy into his bag, I had a soundboard where I could make the coin sound go off. So every time people were throwing candy in his bag, it was making the Mario coin sound. So he was a little sad about that. And so we thought, well, what can we do? Not going out trick-or-treating, what can we do? And I asked him, he was like, let's have a Harry Potter marathon. So we're having a Harry Potter marathon. We're going to watch some of it in costume. I have a Hagrid costume. He has a Harry Potter costume. And we're going to be cooking some Harry Potter meals. So it's going to be 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be doing a Harry Potter marathon with Harry Potter themed meals. We're going to do like after Quidditch dinner. We're going to have butterbeer pancakes. We're going to have pumpkin pasties, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys are going to have fun for Halloween as well. Unfortunately, that's about all the time that we have. Let me stop sharing here. There we go. Unfortunately, we all are kind of having to do something a little different this year, but hopefully whatever you guys do, you're able to do something fun, enjoy yourself. You're able to be safe. You're able to maybe do something to bring other people joy as well. But I do want to say thank all of you guys who hung out with us today on Zenfolio Live. Alexis, Anthony, Brandy, Brian, Eduardo, James, Kathleen, Laura, Lynn, two Lyns, Olin, and Susan. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Hopefully you guys got some good information about logos, some good things to know about building them in Photoshop. Don't forget to download that PDF guide. It has all the sizes and all of that stuff in there as well. And then on YouTube, Lloyd Gray, Robert, Home Phone, JD Engel, Ryan, Michael, Rocco, Zubar. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Again, you guys have a great, happy Halloween. Stay safe. Have fun. Do something you enjoy. Bring other people joy as well. Do something nice for people, but make sure that you stay safe, not just from COVID, but from just general things that Halloween brings, right? People walking around at night in costumes in dark places, traffic safety, all of that stuff. Keep yourself safe. I will see you guys again next week, next Wednesday. Don't forget Wide Angle Wednesday. That's happening on our Facebook page. Make sure you go follow us if you're not on Facebook. If you want to register for that, Richard's thrown that link out for you guys a couple of times. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about building your business with Laura Greer, Jeff Cable, Oli Moss, and Evan Chung, and myself are going to be on there as well. We'll be taking questions, and then we'll be back again on Thursday for Zenfolio Live, talking about building your portfolio here on Zenfolio. Until then, make sure that you guys have a safe weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.